Welcome everyone to another exciting deep dive into the world of rare and extraordinary coins, where something as small as a 1-cent piece can turn into a treasure worth millions, capturing the imagination of collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike. And today we're exploring one of the most fascinating stories in American numismatic history, the legendary 1945 1-cent coin, a humble Lincoln wheat penny that has stunned experts and enthusiasts across the globe with its rumored value of a jaw-dropping $56 million, a figure so unbelievable that it immediately raises the question, how could a single penny, struck during the closing year of World War II, possibly be worth a fortune? To understand that, we have to step back in time and unravel the web of historical context, minting practices, errors, and mysterious circumstances that make this tiny copper coin such an enigma. The year 1945 was monumental for the United States. The Second World War was ending, soldiers were coming home, and the U.S. Mint was operating under enormous pressure, tasked with producing billions of coins while dealing with shortages of metals and fluctuating demands on resources. The famous Lincoln cent, first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, was being struck in massive quantities using a copper alloy composition, but during the war years, due to the critical need for copper in ammunition and other military equipment, the Mint experimented with steel planchets and other metal mixtures. By 1945, production had returned to copper-based coins, yet the transition period was far from perfect, leading to countless small errors and variations that went unnoticed at the time but have become the stuff of legend today. Collectors and numismatists have long speculated that a handful of 1945 pennies were struck using leftover or experimental planchets, or possibly even blanks meant for other denominations, creating an incredibly rare combination of metallic composition and striking error. These anomalies, when authenticated, can fetch astronomical prices at auctions, especially if they are tied to unique characteristics such as double die errors, off-center strikes, or wrong planchet types. The story of the 1945 1-cent worth $56 million begins with a handful of these extraordinary minting errors that have surfaced over decades, coins that defy normal standards of production, making them not only valuable for their metal but for the story they tell about an era of national transition. Some experts suggest that one of the most famous specimens might have been struck on a silver dime planchet, resulting in a coin lighter and shinier than any standard penny, while others claim that a few were accidentally made using leftover steel planchets from 1943, giving them a distinct gray tone and magnetic properties that instantly set them apart. Either way, the mixture of historical timing and manufacturing mishaps has given birth to an extraordinary legend that one of these 1945 cents, due to its uniqueness and condition, achieved a sale or private transaction value nearing $56 million. While that figure might seem almost mythical, in the rare coin market, extraordinary things have happened before. The 1943 copper penny sold for hundreds of thousands, the 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle fetched over $18 million, and each of these coins proves that rarity, combined with historical significance and collector obsession, can push values into the stratosphere. Now imagine owning a coin from 1945 that carries multiple layers of intrigue, the year marking the end of World War II, a possible transition error at the mint, and perhaps even a unique combination of metallic content, striking flaw, and perfect condition preserved against all odds for 8 decades. The allure is irresistible. Some examples of the 1945 1-cent display fascinating errors such as doubled dies, where the image of Lincoln or the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty" appear slightly overlapped or blurred due to a misalignment in the die engraving process. Others feature repunched mint marks, especially from the Denver or San Francisco mints, where the small D or S letter was accidentally struck more than once in slightly different positions. These tiny variations might seem insignificant to the untrained eye, but to a dedicated numismatist, they are treasure maps pointing to hidden value. And then there are the so-called off-metal errors, coins struck on planchets meant for foreign coins or different denominations entirely, often resulting from leftover blanks being mistakenly fed into the presses. Given that the U.S. Mint was producing coins for several Allied nations during the war years, the possibility of 1945 pennies struck on wrong planchets becomes more plausible than one might think. Imagine a 1945 penny accidentally struck on a brass planchet intended for a foreign coin or on a nickel planchet from another production batch. The combination of such a material error and a pristine strike could make that coin a once-in-a-lifetime find. Over time, collectors have uncovered various 1945 cents with anomalies that keep fueling the myth of the multimillion-dollar coin, off-center strikes that cut the coin's design dramatically but beautifully, broad strikes that stretch its boundaries, or lamination errors where layers of the metal peeled slightly due to impurities in the alloy. Each of these errors tells a story not only of the coin but of the intense wartime pressures that affected every corner of American industry, including the mint itself. When such a coin appears in top mint state condition, with luster intact and clear definition in Lincoln's portrait and the wheat stalks on the reverse, it becomes a masterpiece of accident and preservation. Some numismatic legends even suggest that the fabled $56 million penny might have been a test strike, an experimental piece created by mint workers to test new dies or planchets, never meant for public circulation but accidentally released. These kinds of test strikes, sometimes called patterns, are incredibly rare and often hold immense historical value, as they represent stages in coin design and production that few outsiders ever get to see. The combination of mystery, craftsmanship, and unintended error gives such pieces an aura of exclusivity unmatched by standard mint issues. Adding to its allure is the 1945 penny's place in American nostalgia. It represents the generation of victory, the end of hardship, and the beginning of post-war prosperity. People who lived through that era cherish the memory of carrying these coins in their pockets, and collectors today view them as tangible pieces of that turning point in history. When a coin becomes both a historical artifact and a minting marvel, its market value can transcend ordinary logic, and that's precisely what seems to have happened here. As rumors of the $56 million valuation spread through the collector community, more and more enthusiasts began scouring their coin jars, attics, and old collections in hopes of discovering their own 1945-era cent. Stories began to circulate of ordinary people finding odd-looking 1945 pennies with off-colors or strange textures, taking them to coin shops only to be told that they might have something special. While not every claim turns out to be true, the excitement itself has reignited public interest in the Lincoln Wheat Cent series, prompting many to learn about die varieties, minting techniques, and grading standards. Speaking of grading, the condition of a coin is perhaps one of the most crucial factors in determining its value. A 1945 penny with the right error might only be worth a few $1,000s if it's heavily circulated, but in mint state, with no wear, sharp details, and original luster, its value can multiply exponentially. Third-party grading services like PCGS and NGC play a key role here, certifying and encapsulating coins while giving them a numerical grade based on their state of preservation. A high-grade 1945-era penny authenticated by such services could easily become a centerpiece of an elite collection, with wealthy investors and museums bidding fiercely for ownership. It's worth noting that not all valuable 1945 pennies owe their worth to metallic or striking errors. Some are cherished because of subtle design differences resulting from die wear or reworking during production, creating minor varieties that distinguish them from the standard issue. These varieties often bear unique identifiers visible only under magnification, a doubled eyelid on Lincoln's face, extra thickness in the lettering, or a faint die crack running through the fields. Each anomaly adds to the mystique of the coin, turning it into a miniature canvas of human error and mechanical artistry. The fascination with such coins also stems from the psychological allure of rarity, the thrill of finding something that almost no one else possesses, a connection to a bygone era that feels both personal and profound. As with all legendary coins, there's an element of myth-making around the 1945 cent, stories passed down through collectors, old auction records, and whispered rumors of private sales between wealthy enthusiasts who treat these coins as trophies of numismatic conquest. Some even speculate that a private collector or institution might have paid tens of millions for one of these unique 1945 pieces, not just for its rarity but for its symbolic resonance, a penny from the year piece returned to the world, flawed yet perfect, simple yet priceless. This romantic aura, combined with the cold reality of supply and demand in the rare coin market, fuels valuations that reach into the tens of millions. Next. Today's journey takes us deep into the world of one of the most fascinating coins ever minted in American history, the 1954 South 1 center coin, a seemingly ordinary penny that could secretly be worth an unbelievable $35 million because of the unique combination of errors, mistakes, and historical quirks that make it one of the most valuable coins ever discovered. Imagine holding in your hand a small copper coin that once jingled in the pockets of post-war Americans, a coin that may have been used to buy candy, newspapers, or coffee in a San Francisco diner, but beneath its simple surface lies an incredible story of minting anomalies, human error, and numismatic wonder that turned this humble piece of change into a priceless collector's treasure. To understand why the 1954 S penny could fetch such astronomical sums, we must first go back to the era it was born in, an America emerging from the shadows of World War II, entering a time of prosperity, industrial expansion, and immense national pride. The San Francisco Mint was operating in full swing, producing millions of coins each year to meet the demands of a booming economy. However, amid the vast output of the minting presses, a few coins slipped through the cracks of perfection, coins that bore tiny flaws invisible to most eyes, yet priceless to collectors who see these imperfections as fingerprints of history. The 1954 South 1 center coin was struck during a time when the U.S. Mint was transitioning from using older dies and retooling its machinery, which introduced opportunities for mechanical errors. Among these were double die strikes, off-center imprints, repunched mint marks, and even rare planchet variations that now fascinate experts and collectors worldwide. One of the most talked about errors associated with the 1954 S penny is the double die obverse, an error where the design, particularly Lincoln's profile, the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty," appear slightly doubled due to a misalignment during the die creation process. This gives the coin a ghost-like shadow effect that collectors eagerly hunt for, as each visible doubling represents a minting mishap that escaped the quality control of one of the most precise production systems in the world. When such an error appears clearly and sharply defined, it elevates the coin from ordinary to legendary status. Another form of valuable imperfection in the 1954 S penny lineage is the repunched mint mark, commonly referred to as RPM. Because mint marks were manually punched into dies in that period, human error sometimes led to the S mark being struck more than once in slightly different positions, producing fascinating variations such as an overlapping S over S appearance. These are the kind of errors that create excitement among numismatists, as no two repunches are identical, making each coin essentially one of a kind. Moreover, certain planchet errors, when the blank metal disc used to strike the coin wasn't perfectly prepared, have led to highly desirable oddities such as clipped planchets, where a small piece of the coin's edge is missing, or improper alloy mixtures, which give the penny unusual coloration or texture. Some 1954 S pennies display a distinct deviation in their copper composition, resulting in subtle color differences from the standard red-brown hue to strange silvery tones caused by contamination with other metals like zinc or nickel during the minting process. These color shifts are not only visually intriguing but also signify a rare production defect that can exponentially increase the coin's value to collectors who cherish anomalies. The appeal of the 1954 South 1 center coin doesn't stop at mechanical mistakes, it also carries historical importance. This coin represents the final years of the San Francisco Mint's production of the Lincoln wheat cent before operations shifted focus in the 1950s. The wheat reverse, with its classic twin stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, holds deep nostalgia for collectors who view it as a symbol of the mid-20th century American spirit. By 1954, the design was nearing its replacement by the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959, making later wheat cents not only relics of a bygone design but also limited in historical scope. The fact that the 1954 S edition was among the last struck at the iconic San Francisco Mint adds an emotional layer of collectability that goes beyond technical imperfections. What makes the 1954 S penny worth up to $35 million in certain cases is a mix of rarity, condition, and error significance. For example, coins discovered in mint state condition, meaning they have never circulated and retain their original luster, can sell for staggering prices when paired with visible die errors. Some collectors report finding examples with triple die reverses, die cracks running across Lincoln's face, and misaligned strikes that cause partial blank spaces or distorted lettering, all of which are seen as proof of human imperfection in a mechanical age. There are also stories of a small number of 1954 S pennies being struck on leftover foreign planchets, metal blanks originally intended for coins of other nations, resulting in slightly different weights and metallic compositions that baffle grading experts. These off-metal strikes are incredibly rare and command extraordinary premiums, as they demonstrate how the Mint's international production responsibilities sometimes intersected with domestic output, creating hybrid errors unlike any others. Another fascinating dimension of the 1954 S penny's value lies in the phenomenon of die deterioration doubling, where heavy use of dies over time leads to faint doubling on certain inscriptions, particularly around the date and the motto. While technically not a true double die, this wear-induced effect gives the coin a unique look that intrigues collectors and often leads to mistaken identity debates within the numismatic community. Such controversies themselves fuel demand, as people love to own coins surrounded by mystery and debate. The condition of the coin is another key factor. A pristine 1954 S penny with sharp detail, deep red color, and full mint luster can sell for thousands even without errors, but when combined with notable die varieties, prices can skyrocket beyond imagination. Collectors are especially drawn to coins graded by major agencies like PCGS or NGC, which authenticate the errors and assign numeric grades that directly influence market value. A high-grade 1954 S penny exhibiting a clear double die obverse and perfect surfaces could easily be viewed as a museum-worthy piece of numismatic art, commanding offers well into the multi-million-dollar range from private collectors. Furthermore, the lore surrounding coins like this adds intangible value. Stories circulate among collectors about lucky finds, ordinary people discovering life-changing treasures in old jars, drawers, or pocket change. One famous tale tells of a retired man in California who unknowingly kept a 1954 S penny with a visible double die strike in his old coffee tin for decades, only to later sell it at auction for a sum that could buy a luxury home. Such stories feed the public's fascination, inspiring treasure hunters and everyday enthusiasts to check their change with renewed hope. Beyond its financial worth, the 1954 S penny encapsulates the romance of collecting itself, the thrill of uncovering something so rare and unique that it defies logic. Each imperfection tells a story about the minting process, the craftsmanship of engravers, and even the limitations of technology at the time. While modern minting techniques have minimized human error, the coins of earlier decades carry within them a tangible connection to the human hands that guided their creation. When you look closely at a 1954 S penny, you're not just seeing a small copper disc, you're seeing a chapter of American history etched into metal, reflecting a period of optimism and growth. The San Francisco Mint's legacy of precision craftsmanship occasionally gave way to mistakes, and those rare lapses are what make numismatics such a captivating pursuit. Collectors today cherish the smallest anomalies, magnifying details under microscopes to discern whether the curvature of an S mint mark or a faint line across Lincoln's jacket could mean the difference between a coin worth a penny and one worth millions. Some examples even display die cracks that form patterns resembling lightning bolts or outlines across the fields of the coin, creating natural artwork born from stress fractures in the dies themselves. Others may feature lamination errors, where the metal surface flakes or peels due to impurities in the planchet, giving the coin a textured, almost sculptural look that fascinates specialists. These are not flaws to be dismissed, they're historical signatures that define rarity. The excitement over the 1954 S penny also comes from its role in bridging the gap between the post-war wheat cents and the modern Lincoln Memorial design. It stands as a final salute to an era when the wheat design represented agricultural prosperity and American hard work. The S mint mark further adds exclusivity since fewer coins were minted there compared to Philadelphia or Denver, instantly reducing the population of potential high-grade examples. Combine that limited mintage with documented die varieties and the perfect storm of rarity is formed, a coin with a supply so low and demand so high that its price soars beyond comprehension. And then, there's the speculative aspect of value, the possibility that more undiscovered varieties may exist. Numismatists continue to search old rolls and estate collections, hoping to uncover previously unknown die combinations or off-metal strikes that could rewrite price guides overnight. Last. Today we're exploring one of the most surprising discoveries in U.S. coin history, the 1958 D. Lincoln 1-cent coin, a small copper piece that reportedly fetched attention for a staggering $68 million because of its extraordinary combination of errors, minting anomalies, and near-impossible survival in pristine condition. It's hard to believe that something so tiny, so ordinary, could carry such immense value, but when you dig deep into the history of how it was made, what went wrong during its creation, and why collectors are obsessed with its details, you start to realize that this coin is far more than just a cent. It's a once-in-a-lifetime numismatic treasure, a historical artifact shaped by chance, human error, and the unpredictable processes of minting technology during the late 1950s. To truly understand why the 1958 D penny holds such immense worth, you need to know about the coin's origin and the context of the era when it was struck. The Denver Mint, where this coin was produced, was operating at high capacity in 1958, preparing for shifts in design and technology that would influence the coming decades of American coinage. The 1950s marked the end of an era for certain minting practices. The tools, dies, and presses were being pushed to their limits. In this atmosphere of mechanical strain and mass production, even small lapses in quality control could result in errors that would make individual coins unique, and that uniqueness, decades later, can mean millions. One of the first things that makes the 1958 D penny so compelling is its striking error. Some of these rare examples display what collectors call a double die obverse, where the design elements, most noticeably the word Liberty, the date 1958, and the motto "In God We Trust," appear slightly duplicated or blurred because the die used to stamp the coin was improperly manufactured. Instead of having one crisp impression, the die bore traces of two separate strikes that were just slightly misaligned, causing the lettering and numerals to appear doubled under magnification. These double die errors are among the most coveted in the numismatic world, and the 1958 D variant is especially rare because the Denver Mint was known for strict quality control compared to its Philadelphia counterpart. This makes any such error from Denver not only fascinating but historically significant, as it defied the tight standards of the mint. The rarity of such an error means that very few of these coins ever left the facility, and those that did have become legends in coin collecting circles. But that's not the only possible issue that adds to the mystique. Some of the most valuable 1958 D cents show striking anomalies in the rim or planchet, where the blank copper disc was improperly cut or slightly off-centered when struck by the dies. These off-center strikes can range from subtle misalignments to dramatic shifts that make parts of the design vanish into the coin's edge, leaving a lopsided but highly intriguing visual. Collectors love such quirks because they represent tangible proof of human and mechanical imperfection, frozen in metal. Then there are examples showing die cracks, fine, raised lines running across the coin's surface like lightning bolts, caused by the die itself developing fractures during the striking process. These cracks can add character and narrative to a coin, and when they form near Lincoln's portrait or across the lettering, they create unique patterns that make each piece truly one of a kind. Imagine owning a coin that not only carries history but also tells a story through the very flaws that occurred when it was born. That's what makes coins like the 1958 D so special. They embody accidents turned into art, mistakes that time has transformed into masterpieces. Beyond the physical errors, the 1958 D penny's value also ties deeply to its rarity and exceptional condition. Most pennies from this era circulated heavily, suffering scratches, nicks, and discoloration over decades of use. To find a specimen that survived in nearly perfect condition, what collectors call mint state, is almost miraculous. When such a coin also happens to feature a known minting error, its value doesn't just increase, it skyrockets. Professional grading services use microscopic analysis to determine every minute detail of these coins, and when a 1958 D cent with visible doubling or die crack errors also earns a top-grade rating, it instantly becomes a high-demand showpiece for elite collectors. The 1958 D penny also holds importance in the broader Lincoln cent series, which began in 1909 and remains one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. By 1958, this series had already undergone subtle changes in metal composition, die engraving, and relief height. The Denver Mint's output that year was among the last to feature the wheat ears reverse design before the shift in 1959 to the Lincoln Memorial design. That transition marked the end of an era, and coins from 1958 became symbolic of the last chapter of a beloved American coin design. When you add this historical weight to the coin's intrinsic rarity, the emotional and cultural value compounds with its financial one. Collectors aren't just buying metal, they're buying history, nostalgia, and the thrill of owning something that shouldn't exist the way it does. Some numismatic experts theorize that part of what makes the 1958 D penny worth such incredible sums is the possibility of experimental die use at the Denver Mint. During quality testing phases, it's possible that prototype dies were accidentally used to strike a limited number of coins before being replaced. These prototype dies could have featured slight deviations in font thickness, spacing, or relief depth that went unnoticed until later. Such microscopic differences are goldmines for collectors, especially when the anomalies are verified by multiple grading authorities. Other scholars of minting history suggest that a few of the 1958 D coins were struck on leftover planchets from earlier years, possibly on copper alloys with different trace elements or weight variations. This kind of metallurgical irregularity might sound insignificant, but when proven through modern testing, it dramatically enhances a coin's value. Even a difference of a few micrograms in metal composition or a faint color variation caused by aging copper can be enough to set one coin apart from millions. Adding to the coin's aura of mystery are the countless stories and legends surrounding its discovery. Over the decades, collectors have recounted tales of finding unusual 1958 D pennies in inherited collections, old jars of spare change, or antique furniture drawers. Each new discovery reignites fascination with what these coins represent, the possibility that immense fortune can hide in plain sight. The fact that so few verified examples exist makes them even more desirable, and their appearance at auction sends shockwaves through the collecting world. When a coin like this appears, bidding wars erupt, fueled by the combination of history, era rarity, and aesthetic intrigue. The record-breaking valuation of $68 million, whether achieved in private sale or estimated based on rarity and demand, reflects the almost mythical status this coin has attained among elite collectors. What's even more remarkable is how much of this coin's story reflects the unpredictability of human craftsmanship. In an age before fully automated minting systems, coins were products of both machine and human oversight. Every die had to be engraved, every press operated by hand or manually adjusted, and even the slightest lapse could create anomalies that would later become priceless. The 1958 D penny stands as a monument to this intersection of art, error, and industrial history. But its story also serves as a lesson in how value is perceived. To the untrained eye, it's just an old penny. To the expert, it's a symbol of rarity, technical mystery, and perfection born from imperfection. Its reddish-brown luster, fine strike details, and tiny deviations make it an object of obsession. Some have even compared its allure to that of famous paintings, masterpieces created unintentionally, yet worth millions because they capture something unique about their time and creation process. The demand for error coins like the 1958 D has surged as more collectors and investors realize that numismatics isn't just a hobby, it's a market of historical artifacts whose value can grow exponentially. With the rise of online auction platforms and digital authentication, stories of rare coins fetching extraordinary prices have spread rapidly, bringing attention to coins that once sat unnoticed for decades. The 1958 D penny, in this sense, represents the perfect storm of rarity, historical context, visual intrigue, and public fascination. Even theories about its origin continue to spark debate. Was the doubling caused by a die shift, or a master hub misalignment? Did a mint worker knowingly let a flawed batch through, sensing it might one day be special? Such mysteries only fuel its legend. And while some skeptics question how any single coin could command tens of millions of dollars, seasoned collectors understand that true rarity combined with documented anomalies and pristine condition can push prices into astronomical ranges. Beyond the errors themselves, the sentimental connection to Lincoln's portrait also plays a role. The Lincoln cent has long been a beloved symbol of American perseverance, humility, and legacy.